Was totally working on YouTube, and now he's all into TikTok because of Matt's sexiness. On that bombshell, welcome to Agent Tactics. It's another Thursday. We got two of my favorite guys here, along with Raj Sahu in the comment section. Becky, we see you. Christina, we see you. Who else we got in here? Gail. Hi, Gail. Good to see you. Let's see. Marina, Rebecca. All right. Let's get into this really quick. So, today, we want to talk about podcasting. I think this is a good one because I'm actually starting a whole podcast studio in Austin for agents and for non-agents. And I've got a lot of questions personally. So let's get into it. You guys have the Knuckleheads podcast, or what do you call it?
We should have called it that, honestly. No, it's the Bay Area Boys podcast where we talk about all things Bay Area.
With the
Okay.
boys.
Yeah.
So walk us through. So I'm going to start a podcast, right? I want to start the very beginning, what happens, and I want to get to all the way where you are right now. I know you probably have like a lot of talking points you want to talk about, and we can get to those, but I'm a agent. I've been in the business 12 years, and now I want to create a podcast, or maybe you're not in, 12 years. I want to create a podcast. How the hell do I start this thing?
Yeah. Matt, I'm gonna let you go first.
Well, thank you, Roland. Such a gentleman you
I'm
are.
trying to let him go first more.
I appreciate that. So what we found was we knew we wanted to we the first thing you need to figure out is what type of podcast you want to have, right? Do you want to have it be entertainment, education, edutainment, anything else in there, news? We see a lot of the green screen stuff that is working, that is really popular now. And Roland and I basically just kind of took it to that next level. We're basically doing news jacking, but the two of us are being the ones to deliver it to you in not so much of a green screen fashion, but more of a collaborative fashion. So I'd say the first thing you want to start with is what do you want your message to be? And then do you want to do it yourself, or do you want to do it with one other person? And for Roland and myself, we just knew it'd be one, easier to keep each other accountable for keeping this thing going a little more than just one person. And two, it was easier for us to bounce off of each other and to have more fun creating this thing, because then it wasn't, oh, I have to create a podcast today. It was, I get to create a podcast with my buddy, right? He gets to come over, we get to laugh, have some fun, hang out for about 45 minutes. It'll be a great time. Then we get to make some content out of it. So that's how it first started, is figure out if it wants to be a solo podcast or a group, and figure out what you want your message to be.
Yeah. So one thing that was important to us is like we do talk quite a bit about real estate, but it's really just all things Bay Area. So kind of like what he said. What was it? Edutainment?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the word?
Yeah.
Did you coin that? Did you come up with that yourself?
No, that was not a portmanteau that I coined myself. It was taken from someone else.
So that's where it's the same thing of kind of doing local content. It's just stuff that's easier for people to consume if real estate isn't quite cutting it for them. One thing we have found is that our developments, that when we talk about developments, because we have very few of those in our area, those tend to do really, really well, which was kind of cool. And we had that realization at Rev B, just kind of looking back at our stuff that had kind of popped off more. But it's all over the place. Like we'll talk about, I don't know, like what was one thing that people kind of liked for us to talk about was like called the Concord Pavilion in our area. And we have just like different banter like around that, like different takes on it. So like he said, holding each other accountable with that, having each other to kind of like feed off of definitely helps. If you were to do something like this by yourself, you definitely would have to like just really bring kind of the energy. But one person I would say that does a really killer job at it in general is Ken Pozek. So he does like a YouTube live where he'll double up as his podcast and all that. So it's basically the same thing. We take an article, throw it into ChatGPT, ask it for some bullet points. We'll read off those bullet points, and then we'll give our own opinion and take on it, which is really the most important part. It's like there's going to be so many people that agree with Matt and disagree with me, and vice versa. So it's kind of that banter and that back and forth is what fuels people in the comments and engagement.
So, all right. So, I have an idea of what I'm going to do. What's the next step? Like, what equipment do I need? Do I got to get a recording? Like, does he do his on StreamYard? Like, how, if you were going to do a live one like that, what's the process next?
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh yeah. So next is I guess figuring out the type of production quality you want from your podcast. So you could do a podcast with just a couple iPhone cameras set up and, you know, a couple wireless DJI microphones. I mean, if you wanted to go super bare bones, you could, and there definitely are ways to do that. Roland and I, fortunately, Roland ran a media company and I was already doing another higher level podcast. So we had these really nice microphones and pieces of equipment. So we were like, well, we already have these things, so we might as well use them. So we were a little ahead of the game with that kind of stuff. So we weren't starting from square zero. However, you can still buy not the most expensive things if you want it to be the next level. So I guess number two is figure out what your budget is and what you want your quality to look like and kind of go from there. Roland and I
Is
went
there
high.
a resource to help me I'm asking for myself, really. This is great. If is there a resource that I can go to that'll tell me like the best, not really necessarily the best equipment, but let's say my budget is not as high, right? Is there a place that I can go and it'll tell me like how to actually set everything up, how to set up the, the lighting, the mics, the all of that?
Yeah, I don't know of a specific website unless Roland does, but I
No,
mean,
we've been talking about putting together a list because we've gotten this question about 30 times, and we've been talking about putting this list together for about 2 years.
Mhm.
So since Raj is on this call, we'll definitely do that. We'll definitely put that together for everybody here, and maybe send Raj a link for Raj to be able to send that to everybody. But it's really simple.
Make him do all of our work.
Yeah.
Yeah, just message Raj about it, guys. Yeah, he'll take
Here's
care of
one
it.
thing I'll say though. We use a specific Sony camera. Couldn't tell you what it is off the top of my head, but it is one of the cheaper cameras where the most important thing with these type of cameras is they don't time out. So a lot of like DSLR cameras will time out after like 20, 30 minutes. So then you'd have to stop. And then if you don't have somebody manning your kind of setup, then you'll have to get up, restart it. And then sometimes you won't even realize, or if you got to set a timer or something, and then it just automatically turns off. So Sony, I believe all Sonys are better at that. Their kind of runtime, but ours are definitely a little bit cheaper. The most expensive thing,
I'm using the VZE10.
That's what I bought too. That's
yeah,
right behind my computer.
one of the more
screen.
expensive ones, right? It's like I think the body of that's like, I don't know, 3 or 4,000 or something.
No, the
Oh, no,
VZE10
damn,
is
no,
cheap.
no. Yeah, it was
Okay.
like 300-ish bucks.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the lenses are more expensive, or even
Yeah.
right there with them. But
Yeah.
the important thing with these is lighting. So as long as like they're not the best Sony camera, but as long as your lighting is on point, then it's going to be just the same quality as something that doesn't have good lighting. So Sonys are important. You don't have to go like super expensive. Like these Sures, I think are like the SM7Bs are like $300 to $400, I want to
Yeah.
say.
Get a Rode podcast mic.
Yeah, get a Rode. You can even do like I see a lot of people just do the clip-on mics. That's
Yep.
like that's fine. And then your lighting, and that's pretty much it. So we have a buddy that comes in and does ours because we want to be as efficient as possible. It's why we started doing the podcast, because we were like, hey, we can be really consistent with clips and clipping this podcast, and batch it up and do it every other week. So we have somebody come in and man it. He'll like put up on the screen and then scroll down for us as we get to each next topic. But he edits on Premiere Pro,
Okay.
and then he uses an add-on, which is an AI add-on, where he's able to, after the podcast is done, what is it, Autopod, I think it's called?
Yeah, so Roland and I, there are multiple videos going at once, obviously, right?
Multiple cameras,
camera,
right?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
One camera on myself, one camera on Roland. So we're filming two cameras at once. Go ahead, Roland. Sorry, I thought that was
No,
So
you're good.
do-
You're good. That's
Do you have a
great
mixing
point.
like a mixing board that you use that all of this plugs into?
No,
or
so
how
you
does it
don't,
work?
with Autopod, you don't need it. So that's why he runs the two cameras at once, because once it's done, it then cuts back. Autopod cuts back and forth to only the person talking. So he used to take about 2 hours to edit our podcast. Once he found Autopod, it's done within like 15 minutes. It just kind of,
So so I'm trying to think of like the actual like process of this, right? So the cameras, are they plugged into like a Zoom? Are they plugged in? Are you just recording on the
Yes,
cards?
plugging into a Zoom.
So
So
you're
the-
shooting
so-
this on Zoom.
Yes, audio, video into the Zoom. Then our guy takes it, puts it into Premiere, throws the auto editor, the AI editor really on there, cuts off about 95% of the work. He finishes, touches, it's up in like 15, 20 minutes after we're done.
Interesting.
and then, so once that's done, Our videos go into a site called frame.io. The reason why we love Frame is because we do all of our own timestamps of what we want each clip to be. And on Frame, we're able to watch that through on like 1.5, 2x speed, and then clip and say, we want 1 minute to 1 minute 30 to be a clip. And then our videographer or our editor that's overseas has access to that. So as soon as we put those comments in, he can then do a short form video for us for $15 a video.
$15 a video. Okay. But Autopod, you're saying will just do the long form. And then what was the other one? Frame.io?
Yeah, so once the long form's done, right? Once all the back and forth, so basically that long form now, you could then go ahead and upload that to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But for the short form clip, that's where our real bread and butter is because that's what gets the most engagement and then allows us to be more consistent when we are consistent with our podcast. But frame.io, so from the long form, once that's edited, uploads into frame.io, and that's when we can begin to put the timestamps to clip that podcast into short form.
So it does take a little bit of work. You're going to have to go back through and watch that podcast, or as you're going through, write down like the topic, like, oh, this would be a great clip. Because that's sometimes what I do is I'll like, as I'm going through these, I'll like just write down, like kind of, I'll look down at the time of where we are. Like, okay, Roland was talking about how cool his hair is. Let's make that a clip, right? Okay. So interesting. So you have somebody that basically pulls up and puts Zoom on and plugs in multiple cameras and multiple microphones. Now, are those microphones plugged into the cameras? Or are they plugged into Zoom?
It is plugged into I guess you could call it a mixer.
Okay.
That's what the Zoom is, right? That's what I was saying. Sorry. So a Zoom is like a tiny little mixer.
See, we're shooting on Zoom. That's why it's confusing.
Yes, and I realized that, right? I'm like, hold on. We're saying the same thing, but we're talking about two different things. So yes, Zoom is there. It is right there. It's a tiny little mixer. You just plug everything into. It's its own little, like one-stop shop for recording. It's a super useful tool. It's about a couple $100. Everything goes in there to a SIM card. So when our editor wants to edit it, he just basically takes out the memory stick for those of you who might not know what a SIM card is and plug it in and to be able to edit it.
Got it. See, now that makes a lot more sense.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I just put that in the chat there.
Zoom recording.
Yeah, it's super easy. They sell them on Amazon. They sell them on another site called Sweetwater, I believe it is, where you can find,
so this thing isn't like
used
super
ones.
complex.
No,
Okay.
not at all. It's just a place to capture video and audio to put it together for you so you can have it to edit it.
All right, so you plug everything into this, your audio, your cameras, your mics, all of this into this little Zoom mixer, right? You have an SD card that goes in there. You basically hit record. The cameras are all recording. You're using like a VZE-10, which are not very expensive. You can buy more expensive lenses for these things, but I'm shooting on a VZE-10 right now because it's the best for streaming. So you can stream right into your thing. You're recording on this. You take this and you go to what was the program to make the podcast again?
So our videographer uses Premiere. As far as recording goes, it's all on a SIM card from this. But for the timestamps, it's frame.io.
Frame.io. But there was another thing that mixed it where it put each person talking.
Oh, Autopod.
Autopod.
That's a Premiere Pro
plugin.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
But
Perfect.
I bet that there's a lot of other ones too.
Now, especially now.
Yeah, that doesn't have to be like compatible with Premiere.
Yeah.
Cool. And then frame.io, and you timestamp it, and it'll cut it at those timestamps.
Yeah. So basically, you can put like here to here on the timestamp, and it'll be like minute to minute 45, or you can say 1 minute to 1 minute 45, and then the videographer will have access to that specific folder, that you put in there, and then he can just be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna clip this and then add some effects and make it a nice, pretty little short form video.
Or you can just put in like Opus AI for.
If you want to be simple, yeah, I think ours would be kind of a nightmare if we did something like that. I just don't think Opus is quite there yet.
Cool.
But if you're just needing to get something out, then yeah.
So then you're filming this full thing. How are you uploading it, and where are you uploading it to when the full video is ready?
When we're consistent, when we're not extremely busy, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
But where are you uploading the full podcast?
YouTube and
So,
Spotify and
so,
whatever else Matt's uploading it to.
Yeah.
so isn't there is a program like Anchor, right, where you can upload it there and then it syndicates to all of those sites. Are you individually uploading to each one?
No, so we use oh gosh, I can't even remember the
The Podbean.
Podbean, thank you. We use Podbean as our host site for the just audio. So Podbean, BEAN.
Like Coffee Bean.
Yeah. For everybody out there. But there's a ton you can use, right? There's Anchor, there's a bunch. It's whatever host site you want to use, just Google it and find out which one works best for you. We use Podbean because that was just the one I was using for my other podcast at the time. So I knew it well enough to just start throwing things on there. So just the audio goes there, and all of the video then goes to all the other video sites, like the platforms Roland mentioned.
Now, so you have to upload those all individually for the video to be on there? So like, are you uploading it individually to Spotify?
The audio, yes.
No,
We're
the
not putting the video
'cause-
on Spotify. The long form video, the
Sorry.
podcast itself only goes on YouTube.
Okay. So you're not doing the audio on Spotify or the video on Spotify.
No.
Because there's a way to do the video on Spotify.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if I've ever
No one watches video on Spotify.
watched one on there,
I
but
didn't know you could.
going the extra mile is something we do not do, Jeremy.
Well, we do for a short amount of time, and then we don't anymore.
Yeah. So you guys just go the standard mile, not the second mile. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to get to that second mile, but it's hard. It's not easy.
Okay.
Honestly,
we're here.
our main like goal was like to be more consistent on Instagram, which allowed us to do that for a very long time. And then to be honest, like we had some videos that were just more effective for our business. But we keep talking about, and that was one of the things that clicked with us at RevB, where we were like, we went back through our stuff and we're like, oh dude, on our podcast, the development talks are what was the most effective, and then went back into real estate, right? So it's those little kind of nuggets that click with you where you kind of go back when you were doing something that was working, but you kind of just have to realign and reshift.
Yeah, I would imagine the short clips that you're doing would really drive traffic back to the full podcast. Like, what's the downloads or the views on the full podcast look like?
Not the best, and that's only just because we're so inconsistent with it. We just have these like peaks and valleys, but when we are consistent with it, we definitely see an influx of people heading to our long form podcast. I think, Roland, when we were kind of like in the groove there for a little bit, I was sending you like, dude, it's growing. Our long form's growing, because that to us was the barometer of the success we were getting, was how is the long form doing, right? Because the short form, you can get 1 million views in a day pretty easily, and it really equates to nothing. So we were like, what is this driving it to? And when we were being a lot more consistent, we did see that, like I said, influx of visitors to everything. So while the little short forms here and there can get you little pops, it's really that consistent build you want to be going for.
The most local followers we would get though were from the Instagram clips that would really take off.
Now, are you putting those clips on one specific Instagram and TikTok, or is it on your personal? Like,
We
are
had
you
a Bay
creating,
Area
like,
Boys
full-
pod, and then we would
Yeah.
collaborate with both of our personals
Got it.
as well.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then TikTok was just a personal.
Now, how are you getting business from all of those facets, right? Is there calls to action? Is there something you're putting in the description? What are you doing that's kind of trying to get you? Is there a mini chat set up? Like, what does that look like?
Yes. Go ahead, Matt.
In the beginning, so what we, again, figure out at first what you want to accomplish with your podcast. And for Roland and myself, it was, and as we know just from content creators, it's tough because we get asked that question like, oh, how many clients do you get every time you post a video? It's like, well, that's tough to equate. It's hard to be able to say it's a 1-to-1 or a 3-to-1 or whatever. So what we saw this podcast as is, for us, a top of funnel. We use it as, this is our largest net on our boat that we're going to cast out there for as many local people as we want, because that's basically our call to action is, if you want real estate or if you want Bay Area information, come to us. We're fun. We're exciting. We talk about some new cool stuff, but also we talk about real estate too. So if we can get 1 million people to follow us from the podcast, hopefully a couple of them are thinking about real estate in some capacity in one form or another. So that's what we use it for. That was our giant net to try to attract people to us, of us being the people you want to go to when you want to learn about a restaurant or in our case now, a development that's coming to your area.
What content I think resonates the most with your audience? Is it development stuff? Do you talk about, you know, different neighborhoods? What is the content that drives traffic?
Yeah, definitely development and restaurants, I would say. Same thing with like local business highlights. If you're talking about something that's coming soon and you're, whether you're like Emily in Greenville or Alyssa, in Washington, they talk a lot about like things that are coming soon or restaurants. Like restaurants have the easiest kind of reach. Damn. Because
That got you good, dude.
yeah, dude. Too much coffee. But the most kind of reach because people are always looking for new restaurants to go to.
Hmm. My problem with that is I don't think restaurants, talking about restaurants from a real estate perspective, drive buyers and sellers to you. And that's just been a long critique. I've never, that's more of a personal thing. Like if you do that stuff and do restaurants and stuff, do what works for you. I've just, I've had so many people that say, oh, well, that it didn't drive me business, but people are talking about me. Well, cool. I would love for people to talk about me. I mean, Raj talks about me all the time, and it's always like, this fucking guy showed up to this event and just sat there, didn't even watch yesterday. I'm like, yeah, though, I was chilling yesterday. Sorry, Raj.
Oh, you told them what we talked about at Rev B?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, Jeremy just shows up, sits there, sucks the air out of the room, and drinks a Diet Coke in the corner, staring at the wall. I'm like, what can I say? I love that wall. But again, like, to my point, I've never found that restaurants actually drive real estate business. Now, I'm willing to be wrong for sure. I've been wrong many times. So, but the development stuff, I feel like would drive more of a real estate brain because it is what's coming. And I imagine if you mix it up enough where it's not just restaurants, it's enough diversity in what you're talking about that could drive business. Like a lot of people, and Raj talks to a lot of people about YouTube, and so do I. And we were just talking about an agent yesterday that we had reviewed her channel. And I was like, well, if you're going to be showing this specific area and that's all you're going to talk about is this specific like 3 mile by 3 mile area, then you need to have like engaging talks about different things. That's where it's like you talk about a restaurant, and around the corner from this restaurant is this little pocket. And this little pocket's great because these are all the additional restaurants. And here's what you're getting for the price point. And here's what, a house over here sold for. So you're actually giving more information than just the restaurant. So long-winded. Sorry, I apologize.
No, I totally agree. The thing that's tough with our area, that's why I'm so jealous of you who are in like Texas and Florida and like, near some cool stuff that's happening, because ours is so scarce. So there's only so much that we can pack in there. Developments are like, even though we know they do the best, they are so hard to come by. Like there'll be like maybe like a fourplex, and you're like, people are like, dude, like, that's not gonna that's gonna be taken up in like 5 seconds type of thing.
Well,
so
new development still.
yeah, for sure. But it's just every market's so different. So it goes back to playing to your market, just like Mr. Raj.
Now, yesterday, Raj was saying, man, I wonder why their views are so high on their stuff because they get all these like antique homes from the 50s, and I'm
God,
showing new
sounds
construction.
just like
it's
him.
so
Oh.
boring.
That's
Look,
so
he's going to
Raj.
say it. He's
Oh,
going to
man.
validate it. He said it yesterday.
Jeremy's just jealous that I was such a fan of his channel, but now I've transferred that fanhood to Matt and Roland.
Right.
A lot of jealousy right now. A lot of jealousy.
So it's true, but now we're gonna get off topic a little bit, but there is some cool like older areas in Austin too, right? What are those areas like?
This is like Edie, who we were talking about. That's why I was telling her, I'm like, if you went and showed Like, look, next to this like gigantic new construction home is this bungalow. This bungalow's for sale. It's a 1950s. Oh my God, there's like a famous designer that built a bunch of these 1950s homes. Like, if you showed more of those homes, oh yeah, people are gonna love it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I would do. I
Yeah,
tried to
but
get our friend Melissa or Marissa in Dallas to do that too, and she still hasn't.
yeah, she started there a little bit. But yeah, going back to the restaurant thing, no, I totally agree. It's like if you're only gonna do that stuff, it's not gonna be effective, and then you're just gonna turn into like a restaurant, you know, blogger, foodie,
Review
whatever.
page, yeah.
But it is good to sprinkle in there because like it's one of those things where you know, we'll get told all the time, like, God, I love your content. Like I see you everywhere. Like I went to this place because of you. So it's like you can tie it all in together where it's like you are just that local expert and people do really get influenced by you to do certain things. Whether you're talking about that new development and they went to go check it out or whether it was that new restaurant that just hit. So yeah, I think as long as you sprinkle it in, you don't make that your main thing, is the good thing.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
One hundo. Okay, so what did we not cover about podcasting? Tell us the deep dark secrets. Does Joe Rogan call you every like 6 months to check in and say your podcast sucks? Like how does this work?
I'd say the only thing for us is that right now we're not practicing what we preach is being consistent. So that's like our deep dark secret, which we've been pretty transparent about. So it's not so much of a secret, but it's just one of those things where at the time it was working really well for us, but once we got into a groove of doing content that was really, really working well for us as well, we just shifted that. And I think that's a lot of what we do as like fueling our business with content. Like if something is working well, you're getting good eyeballs, getting good views, but then you're still trying something else. We always kind of have like these spinning plates that we're trying. Like even with home tours, for instance, Matt has like really sparked something great with YouTube Shorts, and the home tours. So then I was like, once I saw that working for him, I was like, boom, I'm gonna do that. Same thing when I started TikTok. Once he saw that I was working for me, boom, he started doing that. We are always playing around on Instagram, whether that's with the podcast, whether that's with business highlights or home tours. For instance, we noticed as well, when Instagram first rolled out the 3-minute reels, we both did one like the second that happened, and they both did well. For some reason, we went back to our older style of Instagram tours at like a minute and a minute and a half. So I just posted one yesterday on a 3-minute tour that I was able to like triple up for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram, and it's doing really, really well. Like similar to the numbers of what my walkthroughs on Instagram would do for a minute and a half. So just always trying that different stuff is super important, I would say.
Interesting. 3 minutes.
Yep. 3 minutes of playtime.
What questions have we got here in the gallery? I'm curious. Did you know there's 2 Raj Sahus and one does not look like Raj Sahu right now?
I did send the link to a couple people.
I think the Rasha who in the Tesla is the imposter.
Yeah.
Exactly. I had a question for your podcast. You mentioned it was like top of funnel, and I've done talks before where I tried to chop it up using AI, but I always find the intro is bad. Are you guys in your podcast intentional about the first words coming out of your mouth as the intro, or are you re-recording something else? Like, what are you doing to get better intros?
Why do you got to be smarter than us, Raj? We didn't even bring that up in our own thing. So yeah, we do. So when we were putting that article into ChatGPT, oh gosh, I'm gonna forget the prompt, but basically just say like, hey, turn this into bullet points and start it off with a strong hook for like Instagram or TikTok or something like that, something along those lines. So that way, like right at the beginning of each topic we're going to go on, it's going to be that hook, and then we'll switch off, right? So that way, like I get a good hook, next topic Matt gets a good hook. But yeah, super important on that front. And then maybe with AI and those like tools to chop up, it may be a lot better for those hooks.
That's one thing I struggle with is getting good hooks. And I'll share my screen here to show you what I mean. With ChatGPT, not my own, but with chat. So I do that on chat. So on the news videos that I've been putting out that everybody's been seeing, it's kind of interesting because like companies are now wanting me to pay me to critique their stuff, which is like crazy to me. But like Here, let's go to, so what I'll do is I created a prompt a long time ago, so I'm not going to go through the entire prompt, but what I'll do is I take the article. Let's see if I can find, this is probably a good one. Okay. So I'll take the article. I'll literally just drop in like this article right here. This one was about, was this the Matthew McConaughey one? Yeah. So this is the Matthew McConaughey one, right? And it'll prompt me like a pretty decent one. So here's what it says. Another $1 billion surf park is coming to Austin, and this one might be even bigger. I was like, it's okay. So I asked it to do it again, and it came out with this one. Austin's $1 billion surf war just leveled up. I'm like, ooh, that's better. So I feel like with ChatGPT, you do have to prompt it a lot more. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take it, I'll drop it into like these video script. So this is basically what I do. Like when I'm going to shoot this with Bryce, I put it into like the date that we're going to shoot it. Here's the thing. But then I'll go back and I'll read through it and I'll actually make some edits on it. So I could see like you guys doing that as well. Like give us like 5 like bullet points, obviously on this, and then give us like 5 hooks. Is that kind of like what you do?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Anybody else doing that with chat? Like trying to get better titles and better stuff? Like anybody else using that? No, quiet chirps. Okay, cool.
Raj, any other questions? I'm going to show them a clip real quick just so they can get an idea of what this looks like to probably like get a better picture in their head. Rail needs another 100 billion. So originally the proposed cost of the project was going to be 33 billion. That was in 2008. And now, obviously we're in 2024. The CEO is asking for another 100 billion to get this thing finished.
Another public transit that needs more funding. But let me ask you, okay, let me start with this. Do you feel like we need a high-speed bullet train in the Bay Area?
I think we need a lot more things than a high-speed bullet train that goes from SF to LA.
Agreed.
I mean, hey, would it be awesome? Like when you're like, man, I want to go to LA, I don't want to do the flight. It's just like, it's a luxury. It's not a necessity.
I totally agree.
For $100 billion, it is a total luxury. And of course, the CEO is like, hey, we need to finish this thing out. We need to see it through.
Well, that is the most quintessential sunk cost fallacy, right?
Yeah.
You've already sunk so much money into, you're like, well, we have to put in more because we've already put in so much of it already. You're just putting good money after bad at this point.
California's.
All right, I'll show one more.
If you would have taken out the California and put in Austin, I would have thought you were talking about the same thing.
Yeah, we're all going, and that's the thing that we realize, right, when we post these videos, is that we're all going through the same shit in whatever town that we live in. And so we have some people that are in Texas, who are like, California is the worst. And then something will happen in California. You're like, that sounds a lot like what's happening here. Hey, California, I guess we do have some things in common. It's like, yeah, we do. And vice versa. And so sometimes it can be this like bringing together thing that other people from around the country are dealing with. So you just never know why something is going to pop and what's going to resonate with people.
Let me do this one.
All right, if you live in Dublin,
while you're finding out, the question from Helmer is, do you take articles from newspapers, city website, any local resources? I'll tell you, I use mine primarily from the Austin Business Journal. You probably have the same business journal in your area. That's what I use primarily. And there's a couple other sites. You can actually go to the city and ask to get the, what's like the news briefs. So anytime they like have something, they'll send it out. That's where a lot of the articles are written. So you'll actually get it the same time most news agencies get it.
Yeah, for us, it's like East Bay Times, San Francisco Chronicle, shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Because
in California, 500 new homes are coming soon. This is a mixed-use development in Dublin, which is in Alameda County.
Hold on, I want to hear myself talk.
Last clip where we talked about Emerald High School in Dublin. So Dublin just keeps on building, dude. It's one of those cities, I guess you can call it, because it's so big now, that has the space to keep doing that. So this is going to span 77 acres, featuring suburban housing, affordable apartments, and a commercial district with a public park. Dallas-based Landsea Homes acquired 500 home sites for $125 million from SCS Development. The project is going to be named Dublin Center. It's going to be in East Dublin.
So this coincides with, we talked about how Dublin was one of the fastest growing cities in, was it the Bay Area or California? I can't remember. So many people did not believe us, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why
We got a ton of pushback.
But there's
on
also a lot of people that are just like, dude, just do a simple Google search. Like,
yes,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's fine. We love the
that's why
engagement.
social media is so fun. It's so fun.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
it's great. But this coincides with Dublin growing so fast. They need more housing. I mean, we need more housing everywhere, but it's good that they have seen this, right?
Yeah.
And are trying to get ahead of it by developing more homes, giving more places for people to live, because the city is growing at a very fast rate.
Yeah.
How many views did that get, Roland?
Like 140,000 or something.
Like, guys, that was the most, like, even just listening to it, and we were the ones talking, I was like, oh my God, this is so boring to me for some reason. But the reach was huge, and we got so much interaction from the people in our area who are going to be affected by these developments. And that was what we realized way too late, which was, oh, even though for some reason I'm like, boring, who cares? To me, in my head, it's like, this is what works. This is what gets engagement, and this is what gets views. And so we need to, I need to get excited about it, which now that I see that that's like the path to growth, now I am excited about it, because I'm like, oh, cool, this is something they want. Well, now I definitely want to give it to everybody. I thought it was just Roland wanting to have another side of things, you know, because I like the movies and shows and restaurants, and Roland was more into the analytics and the buildings and the new builds and everything. And so seeing that they both have this interesting place, and seeing that the development side is so much stronger than everything else, just makes me more excited just to like lean into it.
And you know what that all comes back to? Brains and beauty.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You're saying Matt has all the beauty and you have all the brains?
That was my like one of my opening lines at Rev B.
Well, you know what's interesting, when I look at what's working, the reason why it's working is people don't want to research anymore. People don't want to look up. They just want to be told what's happening. And so that's why, like, this development stuff, how hard is it to take an article, run it through ChatGPT, put a script in? Homer, I mean, you said, I think you were doing it, right? Marina said that she was doing it through chat. How hard is it to run through chat like 2, 3, or 4 times and put together a short script and deliver a message? Like, people are going to think you're so amazing because you did all this work. And the reality is, this has been the most lazy, easiest work I've done. In fact, it's like Sunday morning, I'm like, oh, I got to shoot a few of these and send them over to my guy. Let me pull up 5 articles from last week that will hit this week. And like the one I did yesterday on Instagram about that surf park, I knew it was going to be crazy because people go, I thought it'd do really well on TikTok, and it did not. But on Instagram, it's at 20,000 views right now, and the comments are freaking insane.
Yeah, in a day, that's going to climb like crazy.
Yeah, the shares, it's almost 1,000 shares on that.
Another thing I'll say about our stuff too is that, like, you can see we're reading. Like, it's very obvious that we're reading. I think like a lot of people want to feel like they have to read through the teleprompter to see like they have all this information on the top of their head, but we make it super obvious that we're just like reading off of a screen of some information, which makes our process even easier too.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny is when I look at the shares on these, you can't really see it on TikTok, but like the shares on or when people add it to their stories, how many local realtors will share my stuff. And then if you need a real estate agent, reach out to me. So they're taking my articles, sharing them on Instagram, and like, oh, if you need a local realtor, I'm like, and I will always respond in the DMs, like, because like you'll get the message. I'll be like, oh my God, thank you so much for sharing it. What I forgot to put on there is, by doing this, your audience is now engaging in me and I'm stealing your clients. Thank you so much, is what I forgot to put the rest of it. But it is the amount of realtor shares in my local market is wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
We talk about that all the time.
We get those even on our home tours too.
Oh yeah.
Like, other realtors will share our home tours that we're voicing over. You know what I mean? It's like, it's exactly the same kind of thing. It's like, hey, yeah, push our message out there, push my video out there, please, by all means.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, yeah, and think about it too. Like, I get a ton of, because of Agent Tactics, because of all the other stuff we do, I get a ton of referrals. But this is just another, like, when I go out in public now, people used to know me for YouTube. I shit you not. I go out and people are like, oh, you're the Instagram guy or the TikTok guy. I'm
Wow.
like, what the hell are you even talking about? And I'm about to pass my numbers on YouTube on Instagram right now, which is wild to me. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think what you guys are doing is smart by doing the podcast and then cutting it up. I think it's super, super smart for people that want to watch the long form stuff. You get them in there. The question I think that we all need to discuss for the last 15 minutes is how do we get business from this? That's the big, big question. How are you getting? I know it's like, okay, I know it's hard to say, okay, this video got me 5 clients, that video got me 5 clients. I know people want to hear the answer per video, but it is an accumulation. It's not just the one video. But how do we actually convert this into clients? Because you guys do have a couple things that maybe you don't realize you have that you do that do help spawn feedback. So what are those
Yeah,
things?
I'd say it's brand awareness. I mean, one of the things I've seen a couple of those who are doing the green screen videos is they're like, I'm getting great reach, but I'm not generating leads. So I've seen a lot of people start to kind of put in the home tours into their content to be like, hey, like I'm a real estate agent. Let me show a home and talk about it too, just to kind of sprinkle that in. And their numbers are actually really decent because they already have a good following and maybe that audience does like a little bit of both. Um, so I think going back to just like showing that real estate, those call to actions, maybe going a little bit more in developments if that's in your territory, but going back to showing more homes too.
So you guys both do link in bio, correct?
Yes.
How does that work?
Works great. Honestly, that's where we get most of our conversions from. So in our link, Roland and I have a link tree. Roland uses a link me, I think, something like that, whatever link tree service you want to use. And in there, we have the first 2 things we have on our link tree or whatever you want to have link in bio is a I want to buy a house button or I have a house to sell button. Each of those buttons takes them to a form, some sort of an onboarding form. It could be a Google form. Roland and I use Woofu, whatever you want to use. And it has them fill out their information, name, number, email. Roland put the really cool idea at the very end saying like, hey, what's your social media? I want to make sure I follow you back because then you can put them onto your social and start hitting them in that light as well. So those are the ways for us that we get people from social into our ecosystem. It's kind of the long and short of it.
Yeah. I would say the most from the podcast though is just like, God, I find out so much stuff from you guys. So I think that within itself like builds trust and that leads to referrals and, you know, the sphere and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's all about just doing it, shifting when you have to shift and trying to stay as consistent as possible.
So I think the link in bio is smart. But I started doing the into mine videos. Now you're not doing these through these clips because these clips aren't cut this way. So you could add like just shoot a quick end and add that to each one. But then it's like, does that hurt the reach? Does that?
Yeah.
But a lot of times what I'll say is in there is like shares the friend that hates Austin or loves Austin or because I'm shooting these for specific reasons. You guys are cutting them down, right? So sometimes what I'll do is like, and at the end, I always say, I'm Jeremy Knight, your favorite Austin realtor. I do the news so you don't have to, which is such a weird thing to say, right? So I don't have to do the news. That makes people go, and sometimes I'll hit them with, next time you're looking to buy or sell in the Austin area, make sure you reach out to us first. I can say we do get a lot of reach outs. And I don't know if it's from that. I don't say that in every video. I try not to because like, oh, the realtor trying to sell. But I get a lot of DMs from that too. Or like, hey, if you want more information about the car condos, DM me the word T11, right? And so I get a lot of like those. And so I'll hit those people back and like, I don't have a mini chat. I just literally, I'm like, no, this is not a robot. It's really me. What questions can I answer? Which is daunting. A mini chat would probably be a lot easier, but you start creating like better engagement. We got 2 listings coming up just from somebody DM me on Instagram from that. So
Nice.
So yeah, I think the green screen stuff and this goes hand in hand. Like if you don't want to do the full podcast setup, the green screen stuff works too. Jeremy, do you do long form and then cut that into your green screens at all? Like YouTube, it's all just separate. Okay.
I was telling Raj yesterday, I literally, I was doing articles for next week's shoots, right? So I usually will like film them on Friday afternoon or something like that. And I shoot them over to my guy. And then we were filming them in person, but we're not now because it's so much easier to shoot them here. So, I found this article that was talking about downtown Austin is wanting to expand the region of downtown Austin, like what the boundaries of downtown Austin
Yeah.
were. And I'm like, this is just pure evil. This isn't about like there's no real reason for this. And the reason why I immediately thought it was evil is because of all the articles I've been reading. So I literally turned on StreamYard and be like, you tell me, is this evil or is this like, I don't know, it's just expansion of what happens in the city. And as I read each paragraph, it reminded me of another article that I had read. So I literally was like, hey, in a different article, I talked about this, and then read the next paragraph, a different article. So on StreamYard, just had me in the bottom corner and the article that I was reading. But my guy, since he's done all the editing, can literally just pull that video up over the top of that and doesn't even have to play the audio. Like that's just the B-roll on it. So I'm like, this is the easiest thing you're going to have to edit. But the thing is, it's reading all of those articles, even though I haven't actually read the entire article, but I've read the ChatGPT version. I already know what's in that article for the most part, right? I'm like writers try to write 1,200 words, but only need 500 for the article. Right. And so it was just wild that I shot that video off the top of my head. And I don't know, that will probably get me in trouble, but I think there's an evil plan in Austin.
Get in trouble is nice every once in a while.
I like to get in trouble. It's okay.
Yeah.
Raj does not. Raj is a good boy.
Sweet Raj. Oh, we love him so much.
Yeah.
Before this gets too sidetracked with that, I had a couple questions on your channels. Do you mind if I get into that, Jeremy?
Yes, please.
All right. So, by the way, Jeremy told me this was going to be about TikTok, so I feel slightly misled.
Yeah.
But I love
It's
actually what you guys.
podcasts. I said it was podcast. Last week was about TikTok. And are you in an antique factory or what the hell's happening?
Yeah, I'm in Seth's house.
Hey guys,
What's up?
what's up?
So I have a couple questions on TikTok, and it kind of correlates with podcasts too. So when did you guys, I saw like Matt, you were posting consistently February of last year, and then you posted like every day since. Roland, you've been posting maybe a little bit before that. When did you guys hit inflection points in your TikTok, and why do you think you hit those inflection points for tons of exposure?
So with me, it was more that aha moment, same thing I talked about at Rev B, where it's like I need to be highlighting more homes. Business was a little bit slow, lead generation was slow. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Went and did that first home tour that I did, that was like probably 3 minutes long, might have been 2 minutes. I'd have to go back and look. Got like 60,000 views. So
Wow.
from there, it's like, okay, triple down on that, right? I'm gonna do more of that. And then it was just off to the races from there. Matt,
Roland, why do you think that video took off?
I think because TikTok was pushing over minute videos, and they just rolled out that you can now post 10-minute videos. So, I mean, you know what they say, right? It's like the content is what it is regardless, you know? So I like to give the platform credit of what they were pushing, but at the same time, I don't know, it's just the voiceover, just one of those things that just clicked and resonated with people, but it was also the style of home, I would say. So I started right off the bat with just like a really attractive character-filled home. And then saw that and just kept doing that same exact thing. Matt was doing like, you know, come see what $700,000 can get you in XYZ, right? And that just wasn't working. So I think it's just like the same thing with the social media wave. Like this style on TikTok just does really well right now. It could have a time where it just goes back down. And that's why the spinning plates are so important, because always having those kind of things in the background that you're still working on. But I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Matt, same question. Did you think there was a certain like inflection point, like one of your first videos, it just took off, maybe because the market's untapped?
Yeah, no, mine was much more of a grind to get to where I am now. My inflection point was seeing Roland do it in one video. And I was like, oh, well, then I guess I just have to do this now. And for a few months, I struggled. And again, once I switched my strategy up to now, what we talk about in our seminars is finding the attractive houses. Once I got on the right track, it was, for me too, was off to the races. And just seeing a lead come from it, I think was my inflection point. And I know it sounds obviously, but like doing this new thing that really no one else was really doing out there, and being one of the pioneers out there. We didn't start it, but we were on the forefront, one of the trailblazers. Seeing business come from it was my aha moment for that. Was like, oh, damn, we need to keep this train rolling, because I've never experienced something like this before.
When do you think
mine
that
was just the
happened?
amount of views. When I saw those views hit and all those comments, that's when I knew it was going to turn into business. If I
And
just
Raj, it took about 2 months of consistent posting to get to that point. But after about 2-ish months, and I started to see that growth, it's been pretty exponential since.
Fair enough. And then last question, we talked about intros for podcasts, kind of going along the home tours. Roland, you had a video, and this is a question for both you guys. Roland, you had a video a couple weeks ago where you had a spaceship treehouse, and you talked about it right in the intro. 3 minutes into the video, you're like, the spaceship treehouse is coming up. 6 minutes into the video, you said it again. And then finally, at the end of the video, you get to the spaceship treehouse. What's funny is I showed that video to my wife. I've showed so many videos to my wife. She never watches them. That video she watched all the way through because she wanted to see the spaceship tree. My question is, when you have a home that doesn't have a spaceship treehouse, maybe doesn't have that unique feature, are you trying to pull like a talking point that you're going to talk about at the end of the video? Or are you just trying to find something that maybe isn't unique, but you're saying it's unique? Like, what are you doing when you don't have an obvious hook for that specific home you're touring?
That's a super good question, Roger. Filled with great questions. So yeah, if I have something like that I know is going to keep some people around, that's the number one. If I were to do that every time, I think it would annoy the audience a little bit, because if it wasn't that great, and then you're still doing that, they're like, oh, dude, this dude's always just trying to edge me along. But what I'll say is that when you have that, like I did another one where there's like a creek running through the backyard. And I was like, the most awesome thing about this house is there's a creek running through the backyard, and we'll see that at the end. So of course they're gonna, like, whether they fast forward or hold it on 2x speed, they're gonna get to the end. If I don't have something like that, I'm gonna go really heavy on the area, or I'm gonna go really heavy on like the type of house. Or even if I don't have something like that, then I'll do like a little market update of what I'm seeing with like my clients that I'm currently working with as I'm going through there. So a little bit of everything, but it just depends on what it is.
And here's the other cool thing is when you start doing this all the time, you will find hooks that you probably don't even think right now will be hooks, because you will have grown and built your audience to know what hooks will work with them. I know that sounds kind of weird, but like going off, you said, oh, I don't want to say the same intro over and over again. Absolutely true. Unless you lean into that, and that becomes almost a bit on your channel. So for my channel, we have a lot of beautiful view houses here in the Bay Area. And so I've started off at least like 15 videos, because I've done it, going like, guys, this is the best view you will ever see in a house. And every comment's like, you say that every time, but that's the joke. And I say it with like a little wink and a smile, but then my response is like, am I lying?
It's power lines.
Was I lying? Yeah. Well, there's some power lines. Yes. But like, and so I'll always say, here's the view, guys. Let me know in the comments below. Was I lying? Is this not one of the greatest views you've ever seen? And they're, begrudgingly are like, yes. Okay. There's even a video where I started out with the view, and all the audio was me doing this, because I'm trying not to say how good the view is. And then all of a sudden I go, oh, I can't help it anymore. This is one of the best views, right? Because now it's a joke with my audience, and you'll find those too with your audience. And now it's fun, and building this thing will give you so many avenues of creativity that you don't even realize and think about right now. And that's the thing that keeps me going and keeps me excited about it.
That's so good. I have to say, as much as we joke, I think your channels are brilliant. What you guys are doing is awesome. And the fact that there aren't hundreds of people on this call is wild to me. I really appreciate your talk at Red Bee. I downloaded the app Red Bee day one. I was up till like 4 a.m., like seeing how untapped the market was. And I'm about to shoot like 5 TikTok videos. That's why I'm in the build community right now. And so I'm really excited. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for sharing everything.
Yeah, bro, you're one of the big reasons we did it. We saw your Red Bee talk too, not to wax on everyone too much in here, but we saw your Red Bee talk 2 years ago, and you inspired us to get out there. So
absolutely,
we're just gonna keep it. So you get out there, do something cool as shit, so we can watch you do it, and then we'll just keep leapfrogging each other. Okay.
Nice. That sounds good.
I talked at Rev B a long time ago, right?
You're at Rev B #1, bro. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. Period.
Okay. All right.
No, for real.
I'm serious. Come on, you're like the godfather of like YouTube for realtors, man.
No, that's Christina Smallhorn.
Christina's the godfather?
Yeah, godfather.
You hear her first, folks.
Yeah.
Jeremy Knight says Christina Smallhorn, godfather.
All right, the godfather of Texas YouTube. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Well, look, we're at 11 o'clock Central Time. I got to run the team meeting right now. Thanks, guys, for jumping on. If you are not following either of them, if you do want more and have more questions, if you have questions about Real Broker, in fact, DM them directly. We need to do, yesterday, I was doing this thing. I'm doing this AI with this guy. And we actually went to Dallas last week to meet with Tom Ferry to pitch it to Tom Ferry.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so we met with Tom for like an hour the other day, and yesterday he's like, "Hey, I have all this stuff to build your twin and all this, but you don't have anything about Real." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, on everything you've done, like you have nothing about Real." I was like, "Well, that's strange." Like, and so I went and looked, and he's like, "What are like the top questions?" So that's why I put it on Facebook. So if you see a full video out about Real Broker this week, it's because I'm creating an AI twin of myself, and I've never talked about Real Broker. So
Cool.
if you have questions for these guys about Real Broker, they are the ones to ask as well. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Appreciate you guys.